I think I have found the cure for overthinking. I think that lately, in the last few years, there's been a lot of conversations about mental health and about anxiety, and a lot of folks that deal with anxiety will talk about struggling with their overthinking. And what if overthinking is really another name for procrastination, and procrastination is the root for most of the delay in your life? I think that in a generation where we are constantly being flooded with so much inputs, right? We're always consuming. There are there is so much information, so much content in the palm of our hand, and we're always flooding our system with more inputs, with more information, with more stimuli. It's become more common than ever to hear folks that they are overstimulated, right? We are ingesting more information than we know what to do with. And I think um, that is where a lot of our anxiety and overthinking essentially comes from. The purpose of thinking is clarity or creativity. I think the purpose of thinking could largely be boiled down to clarity or creativity. In other words, thinking should result in action and some level of activity, whether that is clarity that leads you to make different choices, to have different meditations, to pursue different outcomes, or whether that is creativity, which yields you to or leads you to make something, to express yourself, to create art, to write, to muse, to joke. But when we are ingesting without ever expressing, it leads us to feel anxious in our bodies, and it leads us to experience what comes up as not being able to sleep, at having a hard time, having foggy thoughts, having, you know, brain fog, as people would say. And so, in a time where thinking has become so shallow, right? People are lacking the ability to think critically, to have intellectual conversations. They're lacking the ability to problem solve. People don't even read anymore or even know how to read. I think the literacy level is going down. Intellectualism is at risk in a lot of ways. So your ability to think is a gift, and your ability to think deeply about important issues is a gift. And so I don't want us to be so quick to demonize overthinking. I want us to embrace what it would look like to take action on our thoughts. Something that I've been thinking about lately, I've been thinking about this idea of a personal philosophy. Of, as someone who has grown up as an adult, rather, in faith environments and in religion, and seeing the disconnect between sometimes our religion and our faith and the results that we see in our life, it has me thinking lately about the purpose of a personal ethic and the purpose of philosophy. And it's not just to be, in my opinion, revelatory. Being able to think is not just to be able to have good sound bites or to sound good or to be able to be a good communicator, but you should be able to think in such a way that your personal philosophy can become a framework that leads you to have a healthy and fruitful life. And so, if God has graced you to be a thinker, to be an architect of ideas, to be someone that's able to think critically and deeply, someone that's able to interrogate culture, someone's able to ask hard questions and to interrogate real issues, someone that's able to feel, to sense, to see deeper than what most can, don't allow anxiety to hijack your ability, but instead commit your ideas to translating them into clarity or creativity. When anxiety tries to stifle and arrest you, like, man, what can I create in response to what I'm feeling? What clarity is the world or external circumstances trying to offer me about what I'm thinking about or what I'm feeling? We need more thinkers. We need more people who are not trying to suppress or run away from what they're thinking or run away from how they're feeling. In a time like the one we're living in, when there is so much going on, when the economy is going to hell, when politicians are dehumanizing people left and right, when there are wars and rumors of wars and people are just struggling mentally, financially, emotionally, we do not need more people who are numb. We need more people who take the risk to think, to feel. So keep processing, keep thinking, keep musing, keep mulling over until you're able to pull clarity out of your meditations. You know, I think we need to be the type of people who re-embrace the necessity of like meditation, not just sitting quietly in a room, but being able to approach a situation from multiple sides, being willing to be open-minded enough to see situations from different perspectives. I think sometimes our anxiety is also because we become so one-dimensional. We are afraid to open up our mind and our hearts to different lanes, to different perspectives, even if they vary from our own. We are so sensitive that we are so even offended by the idea of approaching something from a different angle, right? So those are my thoughts for today. If you're someone that's battling with overthinking, it's probably because you are holding on to an idea or a thought past the time window of execution. We are often the source of our own delay. The results that we don't have, the life that we don't have, the mental health that we don't have is often the result of us staying in our mind past the time we are supposed to be integrating those thoughts into our body. So those are my thoughts.